Welcome to Doctor3, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to giving you explosive growth when climbing the standard ranked ladder. I'm your host, Darren Alkaline, and along with me are my fellow hosts, Grandmasters and Master Swordcaster Dragon Rider, and Major Death. And we're live. We are
We
live on Twitch
are
right now.
live.
Whoa. Yes, it feels
This-
weird.
This does feel weird.
does.
I don't know what to think of this. This is I don't know if it's the chair or what. It just doesn't feel like it's like usual. Let's just play.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
It's
I
just
mean,
a
for
little
all
different.
intensive purposes, like for what we can see, we're used to seeing each other's faces, so that's fine. But like we've
Mhm.
got little like name tags and like a neat little background and like I don't know, it makes the vibe feel different.
It's like a
Does.
real Doctor3 vibe going on here. Love it. Okay.
Daring, I think you have to explain the impetus for us doing a live episode tonight, because I think that it is vitally important that people think, this is episode 141 and they're doing a live episode. Why would they be doing a live episode for 141?
Well, originally I wanted to do a live episode for episode 138 because of the Simpsons 138th episode spectacular, which is one of my favorite Simpsons episodes of all time. Very funny. But then I got wrapped up. I went to Chicago the weekend before, and we record on Tuesdays, obviously. And I got back on Monday and I didn't have any time to put anything together. And then we're just like, and we didn't announce it, and it just kind of got away from me. So we decided to just do 141 because I believe that was your idea, Mage, because it's
Yes,
a palindrome, because
it's a palindrome.
It's 141 any forwards and backwards. So
And I thought, hey, that's the first week after Masters Tour. We're going to have new cards to talk about because they're going to release the mini set.
exactly.
Announce the mini set, and we're going to have to be able to talk about that. And yeah, best laid plans.
It's funny when they announced the mini set. I'm like, oh wait, cool. We're probably gonna be able to do like our card review on that. No, it's like it's out 2 days later. Here, have it. Boom.
Yeah,
So
and
to be-
actually,
Go ahead.
you know what? What's funny today too is that we were talking about it on my stream, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody came in and they're like, "Sorry if you heard this joke before, but Happy Tuesday." And I was like, I thought it was because it was Tuesday, the day of the week, and I was like, I've never heard that before, and they were like, no, it's because today is 2/22 of 2022, and I went, that's. And if you just do the twos, not the 2022, if you just do the 22 for the year, I was like, that's also a palindrome. On the same day, we're doing a palindrome episode. I was like mind blown almost. Like, whoa, like that.
The
part
stars
was
can't
cool.
align any better than this. It's just that's the way it goes.
It's like spooky in a good way.
Yeah, and that was completely unplanned.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, I
was
did
literally
not
just
think
like
about that.
this is episode 141. So here we are. So speaking of episode 141, let's start with episode 140's poll question. Mage, what did we have last week?
So last week's poll question, we asked you, what class do you think got the best set of cards in Onyxia's Lair, the new mini set that went live? We had 18 votes. Thank you to all of you that voted. And with 44.4% of the votes, Priest was the class that was picked as having the best set of cards in the new mini set. Hunter and Warrior tied for second with 22.2%. And we had 11.1% that said other, and we had no replies. So we did not get actual names of classes for
Some other classes.
Yeah.
Some other classes, yeah.
Maybe you just say it was Druid because they got Kazakhstan and just kind of go from there.
I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yes. So
well, Yeah, well, it's the world we're living in now. Okay, so let's move on to news here. So just for everyone in the stream, we will be doing a Q&A session towards the end of the main topic. So if you have any questions or anything you want to ask us or discuss about either the podcast or Hearthstone in general or the main topic, feel free to just ask us. We'll give you a little bit of a heads up to gather your thoughts, and we'll go into it towards the end of the main topic. So,
but definitely do feel free to comment as we're going through news and
yeah,
through the other stuff while you're there. It's just if you specifically have questions, we will have time specifically marked for that a little bit later on.
exactly. Feel free to chat and enjoy. I know I have Twitch up, so I will be trying to reply if I can during moments where I'm not speaking because I can't multitask. So, all right. So we have Songbird says prepare for board-based gameplay after next rotation. Remark is part of a tweet thread regarding OTK decks. Her tweet reads, I'm seeing some comments about cards in Onyxia's Lair mini set, basically boiling down to these cards can't compete with OTK decks, and I'd like to share my thoughts. We've made a real effort in the last few months to reduce the power level and representation of combo/OTK decks in the meta. Measuring every card reveal based on whether it can compete versus a quest deck is totally reasonable, but the landscape will continue to change. With the core set rotation and the release of the first expansion in the new year, I think you'll see an effort to incentivize board-based gameplay. It's something I've been personally keeping in my mind when designing cards for the upcoming year. Basically, we want as much variety as we can have in a standard cycle. This year, combo OTK flourished, and so we'll continue to create decks and balance the meta so other strategies have a chance to flourish as well. A lot of Onyxia's Lair mini set is designed with the future in mind and not necessarily just slotting cards into existing decks. Some things certainly would fit the landscape for right now, but we like to think ahead as well. So yeah, TLDR, I'm excited for what we've cooked up for this year, and I think you will be too. Hope you're enjoying Onyxia Lair's card reveals. Whew.
There's a lot there, but
Yeah.
I think you needed the entire thread to get the context of the talk. And it's interesting because it definitely has felt like to me over the last year, and specifically during Fractured and Alterac Valley, where it does not feel like playing a board-based deck is something that's going to consistently win you games. We're going to be talking about that probably a little bit during our main topic as well. But so I'm like, I get that they have to have different types of decks being good from time to time, and there's going to be an ebb and flow in how all this stuff works depending on what is currently available to all the classes and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's great that they're thinking about the upcoming new year of Hearthstone and thinking that, hey, we've seen this combo OTK stuff be pretty good for the last year or so. Now let's try and bring it back more towards a board-based sort of situation. Because, me personally, that's a little bit more where I feel like I can excel.
Okay.
I think that's a good point. I just want to say, because a lot of people, like, they do want to play in metas that are more like what they enjoy or what they feel like they can do well in, and that's not going to be everybody. So at a time when, because I feel you, Mage, we are much more of like aggressive and mid-range style kind of players. Daring's more of a control style player. So, we're not always going to like or dislike the same metas. And, there's how many people that play this game? I mean, millions? Like,
Millions.
A
so,
lot.
everyone's not always going to feel the same about every single meta. And they do try to, like you said, kind of have that flow in and out of what decks are good or popular or seeing play. And I mean, I think the game benefits from that. And it's good that we have that, because otherwise it would really start to just feel like, even if they added cards, if it was all just board-based decks all the time, that even for the people who like that, they'd start to be like, okay, why do we care about these new cards then? It's just, I'll just play these old board-based decks. We don't need new stuff, because it would just start to feel the same even with new cards. Right? So, having that flow is good, and it caters to all of the various players that play and all of the different play styles.
And I realize, by the way, that this is recency bias. If you think about where we were at in Forged in the Barrens, and maybe even into the start of of uh, the United in Stormwind,
Stormwind. Yep.
we were a board-based meta in Forged in the Barrens. We were very much a board-based meta. The biggest thing was Alex Straza hitting you in the face for 8 for 9 mana. So I mean, we've come a long way, and so combo and OTK decks didn't really start rolling until midway through the year, the like the Hearthstone year, and so it's I'm not while I'm not as good at this current meta, I realize that hasn't been this type of meta hasn't been the entire year. And so it doesn't necessarily, we're gonna revert back and potentially get back to a more board-based meta here, after rotation. Again, it all kind of plays off of the idea of how many cards, what do you have available, what cards are available, and the more cards that you have, the more strategies can excel, and maybe some of that stuff that couldn't excel with 4 sets can excel now with 6, especially given the cards that were released over the last year. So I don't want to be like, oh, combo OTK, it's been here all year, I hate it, I want for something new. We've had, it's kind of ran the gambit, I feel like, over the last year, and I'm just, this isn't my cup of tea, so I'd like to kind of move it back to where we were at the start of the year. But that's just me.
I mean, I feel like it's gotten less board based, obviously, with the mini set, but last month I hit Legend with Libram Paladin, and that's as board based as you can get. So there was at least 1 or 2 board based decks that could still function before this came out. So, that's it's interesting. I would like to see a little bit of a shakeup, and I'm very excited for next year. in all honesty, right now. So, let's move on to our next topic, which is Grandmasters begins its final year this weekend. They shared the new format for week 2, Trio. The Trio format, Hearthstone Esports creates 5 unique groups of 3 classes. Players choose one of 5 groups and submit lineup for each class in the group. Matches are best of 5. Winning decks become unavailable for the rest of the match. So it is still Conquest style, where you have to win with all 3 decks, but you pick a pool of classes and build your decks. It starts, season 1 starts this Thursday, February 24th. First day won't be broadcasted, so you watch it from Friday to Sunday and lasts for 4 weeks in total. YouTube drops will also make a return. Players will be able to get 2 Fractured and Alterac Valley packs for watching Grandmasters 2022 Season 1 between weeks 1 and week 3. And then 2 more packs for the playoffs. So, I'm very interested to see this trios format. It seems this is the most unique format I think they've done in a while, besides your opponents picking your classes.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that being a thing, but I guess that was.
Yeah, I think let's talk real quickly about the Masters Tour, and then for our actual like tournament segment, let's do a little bit of a deeper dive into this because I think we all have some thoughts, at least a little bit, on this trio format, and maybe our thoughts before will change, after we actually see it in action. But I do want to talk a little bit more in depth about the format. So, can you walk us through what we have for the Masters Tour that just happened?
Yep. Okay. So the winner of the Masters Tour, Onyxia's Lair, is JRS Lovestorm. He defeated Judgment 3-1 in the finals. Top 8 included Youth, JP Mixter, Dead 17, Luna Love, Unknown, and Dead Draw. Yes, there's a player who is named Unknown. He's a British player.
Yep.
So, and Love Storm's lineup was Brute Demon Hunter, Miracle Priest, Kazaka-san, Spell Druid, and Weapon Rogue. So, yeah, it was a very good event. It was interesting to have it start on Thursday and end on Saturday. Kind of like that. It was nice to not have to worry about staying up too late on Sunday night watching it because I caught up with the finals on Sunday at my leisure. So, because I mean, those matches it was still going on at 1:00 when I went to bed. So, on Friday, I don't know what time it stopped on Saturday, but probably a couple hours after I went to bed around like 11 or 12 or something like that. So, crazy. So, it was a good Masters Tour. Love Storm, just real solid play throughout. He really put on a clinic. So, congratulations to him.
Yeah,
And
for sure. There was I also saw it looks like he joined Twitter after his win. And so, made a post and
I
stuff. So a
saw
lot
that.
of people were like, welcome to Twitter. Like, the good or bad or whatever else may come with being a part of Hearthstone Twitter. So
I mean, that was like the
was
most
kinda cool.
wholesome tweet. Like, hey,
It
I'm
was.
new to Twitter. I want to
Yeah.
make international friends. I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I mean, I thought you put on quite a show on over the weekend. So, but that just like won me over. I'm like, yes, of course I'll follow you.
Yeah, it got the broadcast got off to a little bit of a rocky start because Hunter Ace was having some issues with a cam,
Yep.
and so like I waited around like right at the start because it ended up being like 4:00 my time, so it was like the final hour of my workday, and I'm like, cool, I'm gonna get to see most of, if not the entire match before I have to leave to go home for work. Nope. But eventually the cam was working and all this, and there would have been a potentially a game loss penalty if there was no cam available, which I didn't realize was part of the requirements, I guess, for this Masters Tour. But
Yeah, they
but
added
it
that a couple of tours back, actually.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it definitely makes sense. It's potentially an anti-cheating sort of mechanism that they can call upon and that sort of thing. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, it got better obviously from there. But it was just like, I'm excited. I want to see some Masters Tour action, and then it just like hurry up and wait sort of thing. But
Yeah,
you know,
it
it
definitely
happens.
was. Good matchup though at the beginning too. So,
Yes.
oh man, I felt bad for Dead Draw. Dead Draw was so close to making it. And like, oh, you saw a man's hopes his dreams get crushed on stream, and I was like, oh. But I mean, he's made it to semifinals back to back Masters Tour, so he'll get there. I think he'll get there. So okay, so you want to talk about the trio format in your
Yes.
tournament section? Do you go
Yes.
on?
So, okay. So we kind of broke down what it is, right? So there's going to be 5 groups of 3 classes that are put together by the Hearthstone Esports, and then the players will choose one of those 3. Like one of the groups of 3 classes. Okay, so for example, I'm just reading this off of the blog post. It is linked, so you can find that. But they have in here example: hunter, priest, and warrior, or demon hunter, mage, and paladin. Okay, so you pick one of those, and those will be your classes. The thing that I find the most interesting about this is that you then just need to win, because you said it's conquest, right? You need 3 out of 5. It's a best of 5. There's only 3 classes, which means you got to get a win each of those 3 classes. There's no ban. There's no like ban strategy, anything like that, which is really interesting because a huge part of building lineups, at least as we've kind of known it for competitive, has included a ban. And how are you building a strategy around that? Even what kind of decks you're bringing based on a ban kind of lineup. Because if you bring a lineup that has decks that are weak against something, you can just say, well, that's fine. I'm just going to ban that. No problem. It makes your lineup a little better. But I am really, really curious to see how this goes with them just picking these like 3 classes that are kind of put together for them as like a little package and say, okay, how do I build some decks with these 3, knowing I'm not going to have a ban, and I don't really know, like it's going to be a little different than just, oh, my opponent's going to bring the 3 best things. I am so curious to see how this actually goes. Do you guys like this? What are your thoughts? Mage, go first.
I don't do much in the way of like tournament play, so I'm not well versed with the lineup strategy and things like that. But the thing that did jump out to me is that there is no ban, and so you have to you have to address, like, you have to make sure there's no real weakness in the 3 decks that you are bringing, and you have to somehow, counter or anything some of this built into that same decks. You'd have to figure out how you're going to counter some of the other strategies or the decks that your opponents are likely to bring. It's really interesting and kind of weird, and like, we don't know how much time they're going to have to know what those buckets are either. So like, if they don't find, like, this is week 2 that they're going to have this trio format. So if they don't like find out until like Monday after week 1, if they don't find out till next Monday, and they have to have, lineups in by say Wednesday night for a Thursday morning start, they're going to have like 3 days to figure out what it is that they're going to do, or what decks to bring, and then figure out what, how they're going to fit it into these this trio set of classes. So I agree. I think it could end up being really interesting from a spectator point of view to see how they go about approaching this, and what it ends up looking like when they actually go and play the games. And then the question is queue order then? How is that going to play into it? Because a lot of times queue order definitely has a depending on the type of strategy you have, that can have a real influence as well. And so that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very interesting because someone's going to go try and play 4D chess and just go that extra deep layer and be like, okay, I'm going to pick the worst bundle because it might be, good against, what I'm expecting everyone else to bring. And then it just turns out everyone else goes wacky, and I think it's going to be super interesting. I just really think that's such a kind of cool format you can do for like 1 week. I'm not saying it's low stakes, but you have 4 weeks in Grandmasters this time around. So like, you want to do as best you can, obviously in all the weeks, but having 1 week be like, this is a wacky format, and but everyone's on the same page, and you have an idea of what other people can bring. So I don't know. It's going to be crazy. It should be fun to see, though.
I do hope they have a good mix of classes so that we have so that not all 16 people from each region end up bringing the same trio of three classes. I really hope that we see some diversification across those.
Yeah, me too. Also, I didn't realize, but I thought I read this somewhere, but I'm reading it here in this blog post. Group selections will be private without any knowledge of what other players have selected. So they're also not even going to know what 3 classes the other people picked. Like, I'm assuming until the decks are public, and then everyone
Right.
will find out all at once. It's gonna add to the chaos, and I'm kind of ready for it. So like it will be really interesting, I think. And I think I will like this format better than I liked the Shielded Conquest. I really wasn't a fan of the Shielded Conquest thing. But this is a bit more unique, and the kind of mystery, like the mysterious options of like what did other people pick. I'm with you though, Mage. I do hope that people kind of go for different of the groupings. I don't want to see like all of the players pick like the same group. So it'll be really interesting. I'm kind of bummed that it's only going to be 1 week of this format because I'd like to see it a bit more to actually kind of like see how it plays. But if it's cool to watch, it might be something that we could all try out, even just to like a friendly kind of tournament and see how it feels to play it too, which would be a lot of fun.
Well, at least it's got to be better than Specialist. That's all.
Oh,
Ooh.
poor Specialist.
I mean, I don't feel bad for Specialist. 5 card sideboard. Come on, give me a break.
Oh.
Magic has a 15 card sideboard. I think it's 60 cards. So I mean, it roughly feels about the same, but like you have mana in Magic, so you're not swapping out mana cards. So it feels more impactful. Like you can shift things. So like Specialist just always felt weird to me. Like it was like not a well concocted idea. Well, that is it for news and tournaments. So let us move on to said main topic. And Mage,
the main topic for tonight. We have a mini set that came out now 1 week ago, and we're going to talk some of our first impressions of the mini set. I'm really excited to hear what you guys have been playing, if you've had some luck, some of the stuff that you're seeing, that sort of thing. So let's jump into it. If you're in chat with us, definitely feel free to jump in and answer some of these questions that I'm going to pose to my co-hosts here as well, because we definitely would love to hear all kinds of perspectives. Because one thing I will say is it feels like there's a lot you could be playing right now. It doesn't feel like we had the balance patch that occurred a couple weeks ago, right at the end of January, right before the mini set came out, and it felt like it kind of freed up a bunch of classes, so there was a lot out there, so it was hard to target things. And 1 weekend on the mini set, it feels like that has kind of continued. Do you guys agree with that? Or are we seeing an 800-pound gorilla emerge so far, or do you agree with me that it still feels pretty varied out there right now?
I don't know if it's a gorilla. I think it's more dragon shaped.
It might be dragon. There is one card in particular that seems to be taking the meta by storm, which we will talk about.
And it's not the dragon the set is named after.
Yeah.
But overall, do you feel like you're seeing a lot of different classes out there?
Fair amount. I mean, trying to think. I'm seeing a lot of classes. I've not seen Paladin since the set came out. Other than that, I've seen a fair amount of everything else. So I've seen Warlock, I've seen Demon Hunter, Priest, Mage, Rogue, Warrior, Druid, Shaman, Hunter. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of different variants on all that stuff. So like it is varied. I will say that.
I feel like it's even varied in the amount of which ones I'm seeing. Like the amount, like I pulled up my stats from last Tuesday to this Tuesday, so the 15th through the 22nd. I have gone a whopping impressive win rate of 55 and 55 for those keeping score at home. That is a perfect 50% win rate, which
You had to do some real math
absolutely
there.
I hate 50% win rates. Like, oh, it bothers me
Yeah,
so much.
that's
I hate it.
fair.
But some of the classes, like Paladin, I've only seen 3 total out of those 110 games. Uh Warrior, I've only seen 5, although I think the next couple of days we might start to see more of those. I think Warrior is kind of starting to get popular again. Um, yeah, Druid, definitely the most. I've seen the most of. Priest has been popular, Warlock's been popular, kind of Hunter and Demon Hunter behind that. Mage even kind of popular. So it that has still felt varied to me. It's been a little bit more skewed, I still think, like
It-
you were alluding to
it's
with like the druids and that kind of stuff. It still is a little bit skewed, but at least I've seen some, at least a little bit of everything, which I think is good. Means at least people have been trying things out, which I'm
mhm.
pretty happy with. A week after a mini set comes out, people are kind of trying new things. Also, at this point, in the year. I know we've talked about this. We'll probably keep talking about it every week until we have the rotation and stuff. But at this point in the year, people start to kind of get tired of some stuff, like Libram Paladin, for example. We've had Libram Paladin for a long time. I'm not really surprised to see Paladin drop off as people try other stuff. That's not the same things that we've had. So it's not really surprising either. But I will be curious to see. I'm sure we'll get at least one set of uh, balance changes between now and the new set and rotation. I'd expect at least one. So we'll see what happens there.
So so what have you been playing since the new mini set came out? I'm very curious. I jumped into I was really interested in trying Quest Rogue because I liked that deck before and it kind of went away because it wasn't really good in the meta right away. And
Yeah.
SI7 Smuggler is great. We talked about it last week that it counts itself. That's apparently a bug and
Yep.
is going to get fixed because
Yeah.
other cards don't count themselves with their battle cry. So know right now that if you're using the SI7 Smuggler, you are playing with borrowed time right now. But I was enjoying it. I was doing fairly well with it. I've kind of switched off trying some more aggressive stuff because I wanted to try and get underneath those druids, and I'm not doing as well since I switched off of the quest rogue. But I'm very curious to hear where what you guys have been playing and what have you if you've is there something that you found in particular that you've enjoyed so far? Dragon
So
Rider, I'm going to start with you this time.
Okay. So the the things that I've played the most, I was trying some Burn Shaman. Actually, I was trying to kind of learn Burn Shaman, and that felt like it was decently situated in the meta. I did pretty decently with that, especially for trying to learn it and learn it on stream. 14 and 10 there. But the class that I actually have played the most is Hunter. And I was trying some Quest Hunter with the new cards to try those out. Um, it felt kind of like middle ground for me. So it's like, okay. It can put out a lot of bursts, but then also I was dying to a lot of the kind of aggressive stuff, the other hunters that I was seeing, and warrior just it wasn't doing great against warriors that I was seeing or priests. And then I've been playing a lot of Face Hunter. That's the other hunter I've been playing just because I'm like, I want fast games. I feel like I have fallen quite a bit in Legends, so I'm like trying to work my way back up and was like, all right, I'm just gonna take Face Hunter. I'm gonna smork. I'm gonna hit him in the face and hope that gets me some ranks. So it was working decently, but like I kind of alluded to earlier, I did start to hit some. I think the kids are calling it Dragon Warrior now. It's like the new Control Warrior, I guess. So, yeah, started hitting a couple of those. And yeah, Face Hunter does not like things like Bulwark of Azeroth, a bunch of extra armor. Face Hunter also does not like Rancor and taunts. So yeah, that result was not good. But when I didn't face the warrior, it was doing all right.
Darian, what about you?
Do I have to answer this question?
I mean, I have an idea of what you've been playing. I've got an idea based on the meta what you might be playing, but please enlighten the rest of the class. What have you been playing? What have you enjoyed playing?
The class I've played the most is Druid. Now, in my defense, I was playing a lot of Ramp Druid before the mini set.
Sure.
So
slotting that does not get you off the hook, but okay. Continue.
Yes. I mean, I played some Face Hunter on ladder. I've been playing Druid mostly in casual. I like when I'm a little bit unsure of the meta, I tend to go to casual just to work out things and learn as much as I can. But when I was back on the ladder, I was just playing Face Hunter. Seems to still be doing well. So yeah, Warrior, it's not a good matchup against Warrior. Sometimes Druid just pulls out all the stops and has all the lunar eclipses and the bog beams, and you suddenly can't kill them. So,
but Warrior and Priest, either of those classes, it just that's not a good matchup.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't happen. And then I was trying some Quest Rogue today, but I was trying a little bit of everything. I tried the Quest Brute Demon Hunter. I tried the just straight up Control Warrior, the Dragon Warrior you're talking about. I tried that, and that's okay. It's just the Kazakhstan sand treasures are just too good to just. It's kind of hard to compete. In that matchup with the Warrior, it's well, they're all the way through their deck and they're in their treasures, and they're going to kill me with those because certain treasures can do 28 damage over a turn, and you get 2 of them. So it's just I've been playing Druid just because I like the Solar Cenarian. I'm kind of sad that Anixia is there now because that's another 10 drop in the pool for resizing pouch. You used to pretty reliably be able to pull, Yasharaj or Yogg-Saron from the pool. Not all the time, but pretty reliably. But now it seems harder to get those 2 options, and it's less to count on. So I enjoyed the version pre mini set better just because there's nothing like rolling Yogg. It's fun. It's this could either I lost a fair number of games due to Yogg, and I won a fair number of games due to Yogg. So it's it's oh, minions. Why does my opponent have 2 Tyrians and I have a novice zapper and a loot hoarder? I'm thanks, Yogg. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Or it gives you a bunch of spells in your hand. You're like, I needed some stuff on board or to eat their minions. Well, I guess I lose.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
I was watching.
Oh god.
I watched John Bray today, and he was playing Miracle Priest, and he had 3 minions on the board, and then Yogg comes down, and suddenly all 3 minions are on his opponent's side of the board, and it's like, you know, two of the 3-mana 2/5s that reduce the cost of cards
Those
in your
Ami
hands.
Blood Weavers, yeah.
Yes, and then a Malagos. So it's just like, yeah,
I
that's
I had that happen to me playing Miracle Priest too.
yeah. It's
So
just so you mentioned the the new dragon in town. His
mhm.
name is Kazaka-san. He seems to be pretty popular. Um, not only in Druid, he's pretty scary in Druid, given the Lightning Bloom, Overgrowth, Guff, all that sort of thing. I was telling these guys earlier today, I turned 3 Kazaka-san. That's fun to deal with. You don't really have a lot of mana to be dealing with duels treasures when your opponent is doing that sort of thing. But we are seeing Kazaka-san in a bunch of other classes, priest and warrior kind of being the 2 big ones. Apparently, Demon Hunter Ace, I think, was running one in his Demon Hunter list at Masters Tour,
Yep.
which see, definitely because of Masters Tour, people are net decking those. Warlock, apparently, some people are playing Kazaka-san in that as well. So, not really a question necessarily, but I guess just what do you think of how popular Kazaka-san has been in the first week? I think it's definitely one of the splashiest cards in the mini set, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, what have been your thoughts and experiences with Kazaka-san over the first week? Go ahead, Daring, and tell us all about how you've scammed games from people with Kazaka-san.
Yeah, you definitely do. It's like, oh hey, remember these treasures from duels? Yeah, they give you one of those every like 3 or 4 matches. How would you like 5 of them and 2 copies of each of them? Like,
Like in your deck right now that
yeah,
you can
right.
just
Your
start
deck, yeah,
drawing for
exactly.
them.
Oh yeah, we get rid of your deck so you don't have any more of the garbage that you started out with. You get these like board swinging, game altering treasures. Like having one locust in your deck is nuts. It's one card that can do 28 damage. I repeat, one card that can do 28 damage. And that's not in Druid, that's in any class. Like obviously, like Druid's an exception because you can do what, like 48 with Solar Embers of Ragnaros. You can do
Yeah.
that. Like that's
Yeah.
something that can happen. You can do 16 with the freeze spell and solar. So like there's obviously Druid has it a little bit better because they can definitely scam out a few more things, but like the treasures are ridiculous and they're meant to be ridiculous because they are meant for duels. Like duels is a different format that is people enjoy duels. So it's like it's just its own thing. More crazy things happen in duels just due to the nature of what it is and how it's designed. And that's just it. Like the hero powers are all different. They're the treasures, the specific minions, the synergies. There's a lot more going on there. And these treasures are very, very impactful there. And then you take it to standard and you're like, okay, well, it's turn 6. I play Kazaka-san. By the way, I've already played Guff. So now I can draw every single turn twice and have like 12 mana to work with here now, guys. And like I can be like, Book of the Dead, clear your board. I can fill up my own board. Like, and then it just becomes a slugfest of who got the better treasures, whose Kazaka-san is better. And it's not entirely fun to me. Like it's an interesting, like the treasures are interesting. They feel like some of them just like Locust should be gone. I'm gonna say it. Locust should not be in the pool. Way too much damage. There's way too much damage. Like I feel like you can play around like Embers of Ragnaros is powerful, but it's 10 mana. Like and it only goes off once. Like it is powerful. The boom bots are powerful. Those other ones I feel like you can kind of play around. You can't play around Locust. Literally, they ignore it. It goes straight to the face. It doesn't. It ignores taunts. Like you could put a million. You could have a full annoying horn, and you can go, yeah, that still goes face. So like that's like the real like, and it's 28 damage. Literally 28 damage. Locust single-handedly ends the game, and you get 2 copies of it. I'm going to repeat that. 56 damage between 2 cards. 56 damage.
Why does
this
that card have Twin Spell? Why
This
does
is
that
not a
card
combo.
have Twin Spell?
Yeah, I know.
Why does this card have Twin Spell? I don't get it.
It's okay. Like it can have Twin Spell because it's a duel's treasure. Like that's fine. Like this games are going to be more nutty in duels just due to its nature. Like that is it's its own thing. Like duels is it's completely isolated. Yes, it uses and it plays cards from standard and wild, but I mean, so does Battlegrounds, and it's a completely different format. Like so like moving these things from one to the other doesn't feel like it translate as well as you would think it would. And I'm just I've spent a lot of time thinking about this since the set came out. I mean, it's been my main focal point because it's like you said, it's the gorilla in the room, it's the dragon in the room, it's the 800-pound dragon in the room. I feel like that would be a very small dragon still. But like the
Dragon Rider jump in here.
Yes, please.
Give us some of your thoughts on this. We got I think we've got where Daring is.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay, I will just point out, yes, hearing Daring's rant there reminds me of his rants about Penflinger, and we all saw what happened there. I'm just saying, I think Daring's onto something.
That took way too long for that to happen. That took way too long.
Way too long, yeah. But I want to point out a specific thing that you said that I completely agree with is I don't think some of the cards have translated well to the different format. And I think that's where a lot of people are having an issue is that it kind of feels overtuned because of some of the cards because they're fine in duels. That's what it was those cards were created for.
They're maybe not fine in duels either, but it's like, you know.
I mean, that's the nature of duels. Things are wacky. Things go crazy in duels.
Right.
Yeah, but once you bring that into a format where it wasn't for that, and it's not supposed to be like, there could be a separate thing for saying, okay, it's wild, or yes, it was created for duels, so it's supposed to be a little bit more powerful there. But when you bring it into something like standard, and especially if it stays how it is now, I'm really worried about how it's going to feel after rotation when we have even less cards in standard. And then we still have Kazakhstan with some powerful effects where I'm worried about it at that point. I think maybe right now there's some more strategies. We have a little bit more openness because there's more decks. I really am worried about how it's going to feel after rotation. I think right now we can maybe get away with it, but yeah, that's where I'm worried about it. So yeah, it feels a little overtuned for standard.
It also feels a little bit different, I think, when they're playing it right around the turn 8 to 10, as opposed to playing it on turn 4, 5, 3, 6. Even still, it just the amount of the ability for your opponent to handle what it is they're about to get thrown at them is significant. You know, the less mana they have, the more significantly unbalanced those cards feel. And it's definitely really, really tough. We've talked about some of the treasures. What are I didn't realize, I had thought there wasn't that many cards that would create minions or would be able to create boards and do enough damage that you could just do it. But apparently there definitely are and have been. What are some of the best treasures you think? Obviously Locusts is tier SS plus plus plus, because ignores taunts, goes face, and you get 4 of them in 2 cards, so you could do a lot of damage. Just, you know, they can keep clearing it, but you could keep sending them face. What are some of the other treasures that you've been playing with that are pretty powerful?
So I want to say it's basically the things that do damage. So like the S tiers, you know, obviously like you said, Locust, but like Embers of Ragnaros. I don't have the list of treasures in front of me right now. Book of the Dead, because a lot of the time Book of the Dead just becomes free and 7 damage across the board, clears the board, and pushes 7 damage face. The wand, this wand of disintegration, I think it is. The 5 mana silence and destroy all enemy minions. So gets rid of everything oh so cleanly. And then like so the lesser ones, you know, Gnomish Army Knife kind of situational, give your minion Wind Fury, Stealth, Divine Shield, and Poison. Lifesteal too, lifesteal. So you get basically give your minion all the keywords.
All the things, yeah.
Do all the things at once. There's the treasure that just destroys a minion for 2 mana. The treasure that gives it +4/+4 and taunt. Banana Split, you know, give your minion +2/+2 and summon 2 copies of it. The Wax Rager, which is the 5/1 Death Rattle, resummon this minion so it never dies. It's like a Dreadsteed, except for way more threatening. And then you have the 4 mana Boombots, 3 mana destroy a minion and recover its health to your hero. So the Canoptic Jars, give your minions Death Rattle, summon a copy of this, or summon a random legendary minion. The discs, which summon 1/1 copies of fill your board with 1/1 copies of a specific minion. Doesn't have to be your own. So I think that's all of them. I could be wrong, but I'm not looking.
You didn't necessarily need to list every single one of them. I just was asking you some of the treasures that you routinely are picking when you're picking.
I think he named the ones that
probably
people are
named them
normally
all,
picking. Yeah, because he still skipped some that are not good.
Oh yeah,
It
Krabby. Yeah.
It does though.
Crusty.
It feels insane. I feel like, because the ones that you talked about are like all of the board clears, especially the things that deal big amounts of damage and that put a ton of things on the board. Like I think those are kind of the 3 main things that I would say, because there's a handful of cards in each of those categories. And I think even for me, the one that I've really hated seeing when opponents play it too is the Pure Cold, which is the 5 mana. It's a frost spell, but deal 8 to the enemy hero and freeze it, which is like usually they're actually using that as a finisher. And it's a 5 mana, which is just 1 more than a fireball, but it's dealing 8. And if they do have any kind of spell damage, which some of the classes have, then it's doing even more. And it's like, okay, well, cool. And even if it doesn't kill me,
Not
uh,
cool. It's pure cold. That's
yeah,
what it is.
it's pure cold.
Pure
Exactly.
cold.
It's ice cold. But it's like it just feels bad. It feels
Mhm.
bad to play against a lot
Yeah.
of those cards because then it's like,
I
okay, great.
I had a game where somebody played the boombots and then put the jars on the boombots, and it's like, come on,
Ooh.
Yeah.
come on.
Yep.
That's not nice. That's not nice at all.
That's not nice. I generally am like, okay, how do I get damage? It's just basically the damage treasures are your premium ones.
Yeah.
You're going for those first. If you're
I've-
concerned about board, you're going for like wand and like staff of scales.
I've seen
So
a lot of Bubba, the 5-mana 8/8
Yep.
beast with the battle cry, summon 6/1/1 bloodhounds with rush that attack the enemy minion. That one seems okay too, depending on the situation. That 8/8 that it leaves behind usually is not fun to have to deal with. But let's move on and talk about some of the other cards from the mini set, because we actually did have, 34 other cards besides Kazakhstan that were here.
wait, I wasn't aware of this.
Yes.
Yeah, what?
No, seriously.
Wasn't this
There
Kazakhstan's lair?
yeah. So what cards maybe are surprising you that you've seen seeing some play so far in the first week, and what cards maybe that you think will continue to see play after this kind of experimentation period that we're dealing with right now? Dragon Rider, I'm starting with you.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you have a couple of cards listed here. I am
Yeah.
gonna pick. I think the two for me is honestly Scale of Onyxia has surprised me, which is the druid spell, right? That puts out the whelps, and also Onyxia herself. I thought that would be pretty good, but I actually didn't. I think it's because of the immune. I didn't realize like how impactful her having immune basically like while she's on the board. Like she never loses immune. Who did like no, you never get to that point in a game. So I think that has kind of surprised me. I'm not sure if those are going to see play. I think one thing that has helped the Scale of Onyxia is being able to ramp up pretty quickly. So people can actually get to that big board of whelps faster. Otherwise, after we lose a lot of the ramp cards after rotation, I'm not sure if that's going to see as much play. Again, we don't really know like what's coming. Maybe there is something that kind of still helps you get to that point, or maybe the games are a bit slower and you can play it and still get the boards out. But I think right now that has been the most surprising for me, has been the Scale, because I was like, 7 mana, this is slow. Like nobody wants to play this, and then all of a sudden I'm like, why is everybody playing this? What are all these whelps? I don't like this. Wait, they're playing another one. No. So that has not been thrilling, because I thought it would be bad, and then people are killing me with it. So that's the thing.
Turns out
I thought a 10 mana raid boss Onyxia was just going to be too freaking slow. And yes, Druid does get to play it before turn 10. So there's that. But I mean, we're seeing that card in some of the same classes that we're seeing Kazakhstan in. And when it comes down, since you're paying 10 mana, it's got to do a lot. And it actually does a lot. It doesn't feel like it does not feel like you're wasting your turn by playing the 10 mana minion at that point. It does so much. And Wicked Good says it's better in Warrior than it is in Druid. And I think he's probably right there.
Yeah, the immune is just insane. The immune means you can't target it as well. So it's it's just crazy. I've been very impressed with that card. And with the Onyxia Scales, it's just like, well, Solar Arbors is still a thing for now. So even if it could be used as a board clear, that threatens lethal if stayed, if multiple minions are left on board. And there are packages where they're not playing any minions other than Kazakhstan in Druid, and they're playing, Glowfly Swarms in this card, and it threatens a lot of different angles that you have to be worried about. You have to clear the board mid and late. I've actually the card that you have listed here, that I really liked was the Onyxian Drake. I thought it was going to be good, and it turns out it's good. It's really good.
It's pretty freaking good.
A
Yeah.
shield slam on a 4/5 taunt dragon. Yeah, that turns out. Yeah, I like that. You don't have it's a card that cannot be like, if you're playing against Hunter, it could be ice trapped or counter spell. Like, who's playing counter spell besides Rogue sometimes?
Yeah.
But it goes off regardless, and you don't have to worry about it. So, man,
that's been a good card. I actually think the Onyxian Warder has been better than I expected it to actually be. Again, it's another card that gets slotted into that Dragon Warrior deck that we've been talking about. The 3/6 felt like it was a little understated, but the fact that you get the 2 whelps with Rush right away can just sort of maybe remove something while developing something on your side of the board, which is always kind of a key to success when it comes to turning a game into a win. Smuggler, while we have the quest in standard, Smuggler is going to be good, and it's still gonna, even when it doesn't count itself like it does currently. With that bug, I think that card is still going to be good. And it almost allows you to drop having Mr. Smite in the deck, because you can potentially get these big, huge minions that then you just battle master into your opponent's face. So it's good. It's really good. And so that one, it's not experimentation. That's just in the deck now, and you're just going to play it while you're playing your quest deck until that rotates out of standard. Dragonbane Shot, I think, is as good as advertised, right? That card
definitely
that card is nutty, and I've seen some clips of some people doing some pretty crazy stuff, removing lots of stuff and just keeping that thing going. And when you've got a 0 mana hero power that can trigger off those, that's even better. That's fantastic. So any other cards from the mini set that we want to spotlight that we're surprised about, or something that we think is going to continue to see play as we move forward?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. It's weird. Just, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I feel like Kazakhstan is obviously going to, unless something about him changes, is going to be a pretty focal card moving forward, I would imagine. But we don't know what rotation's going to look like. And like I was saying before before we went live, like, Druid loses Overgrowth, it loses Lightning Bloom, it loses Moon Touch Amulet, it loses Solar, Lunar, Cenarian Ward. So it loses a lot of the kit that allows it to do some of the bigger things it does. I don't know what it's getting replaced with, but that's kind of where we are. So I think it's just we're at that weird state in the meta where it's like, well, we got to see what the new core set looks like, and we got to see what the new expansion looks like. And it sounds like Cora, Songbird said, they've got some interesting things planned out. So just look into the future now.
So let me ask real quick. It has felt like to me since the last balance patch and now through the first week of the mini set that playing minions right now does not lend itself to a whole lot of success. It feels like I don't know. It might just be me, but it feels like a board-based strategy is not necessarily the way to go when it comes to consistently winning Hearthstone games. It is removal too good right now? Is it Kazakhstan? Why why do I feel this way? And because I can't seem to articulate it myself. And let it am I right or am I wrong? I don't know, because it's something that I've felt a lot, right?
So I feel like board-based strategies can still be good right now. I think there is a mix. Just like most times, I do think that what kinds of decks you're coming across, like your variance within your matchups, is something. But we also talked about how many decks are still being played right now. There's a lot of experimentation. So, there's a lot of times where you're going to hit some better matchups, or it's going to feel like, oh crap, I'm just hitting all control. And now this board based deck is dead. I can't do anything with it. But there's just a lot of changes and a lot of experimentation that's going on right now, a lot of viable decks. So I still think that a lot of board based stuff is fine. I personally feel like if you are going to try to go for a board-based strategy, it's going to be a faster one, though. You're going to have to go for something a little
Yeah.
faster. Like I even tried. I think it was only like one game, so there's that whopping size for your data there. But I played one game of Paladin today, the buff Paladin. Did not feel great. Maybe I played two. Either way, it did not feel great. And I think the reason is because it felt pretty slow. My opponent had time to react to it or to get to their big swings, that what they were wanting to do, Kazakhstan or removal or digging through their deck to do some, whatever they were trying to do, like some warlock, for example. But like I said earlier, I was playing a lot of Face Hunter, and even the games where I got on board with a lot of minions, got some early minions, got some trogs down, and a lot of those games actually felt like my board was sticking more often than not. But
Yeah.
I do feel like I had to be fast with with my boards. So there's kind of my caveat. I do think boards are still fine. I just think you have to be a little bit faster or a little bit more resilient to their big counters. And it also does depend, like any other meta, on what you end up queuing into.
Yeah, definitely. I've had some success with like Quest Rogue. Like I was playing Quest Rogue today because I wanted to play a little bit more on board, and just being able to keep up the pressure from turn one, like just getting on the board, using the SI card we were just talking about. The name just
The
slipped my
smuggler.
the
Yeah.
smuggler. Yeah, like just shadow stepping it and putting it right back down, and just like, okay, I don't care what shape minions they are. I'm putting more minions on the board to pressure to do that chip damage. So like when we get to scabs, I'm able to put scabs down and get him out with the BGBM. So I think Dawn's right. You just got to be quick. And
I feel like apparently I'm just running into all the control decks, because it just feels like warlocks and priests, warriors, and those sorts of decks seem to be what I'm queuing into primarily when I'm playing even something like a aggro, like the shadow priest or face hunter or something like that. And it just some of that stuff, if they've got the removal, you just can't you just can't get there, because you do need that. You need your minions to hit face. But to your point, the top 5 decks on the Vicious Syndicate Live, if you're looking at all ranks, Taunt Druid is actually the best class or best deck right now. Quest Rogue number 2, Burn Shaman number 3, Quest Hunter number 4, and Quest Warrior rounds out the top 5. So there's some boards that can be made with Taunt Druid and like Quest Rogue, like you're talking about, and obviously Quest Warrior, that's all it is. It's pirates. You're playing pirates. So
that's so interesting. I feel like that one specifically is because of that all ranks filter.
yeah, it's
like
Oh, yeah,
I have not
definitely.
seen
Lower-
a single
I've not
like
seen a
maybe
pirate warrior.
one.
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't tell you the last time I saw a pirate warrior.
I maybe saw one like the day of expansion, like maybe people were trying to see if it was still, or the mini set to see if it was still good, but like ever since then, like no, I haven't seen it. But yeah, maybe at the ranks where people are I don't want to say not as competitive, but maybe those people are more free to play, or they're not as competitive. They're not really caring about pushing to legend. Maybe they couldn't get the mini set. So they're probably still playing that because, in gold or silver, I'm sure it's probably still a pretty decent, pretty strong deck.
Yeah. So one last question for you both is should Team 5 be considering any changes? We've had a week with the new mini set. Do you think they should be looking at making any changes? We've talked about Kazakhstan possibly being a bit of an issue, specifically in Druid. So that is one place you could possibly look. But yeah, do you think they should be looking to make any changes? Daring volunteered you, Dragon, to lead to do this.
I know. I see him pointing at me. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think Kazakhstan needs to change. I'm not sure how I would offer the change. My first instinct and what they have done, I think, in some of these is typically just change the mana cost. So then my instinct is, okay, just increase the mana. Not sure if that's the best option or not. They could change the pool of cards. Again, I don't know. I personally don't know what the best option is. So like I'm saying this, I hate just saying like they should change this without like giving an alternative. Because I'm like, well, if you're gonna say something sucks, you're gonna say it's bad or it needs to change, like just give an alternative. But I don't know what the alternative is. I think one big issue is like what you mentioned earlier, Mage, where it feels a lot worse when it's coming down on like turn 5 or something instead of turn 8 or 9 or So yeah, Druid, especially because of all the ramp. But again, we've talked about that's already leaving. So I suspect they won't nerf those aspects. I don't know. I don't see that happening. So that's why I say if they are going to change something, Kazakhstan is where I would change it over ramp that's going to be leaving in like 2 months. Because then if they think it's fine and wild, then they got to change it back. And like that seems like something they won't do, but I'm not sure.
There is a precedent. They have changed a card even though it was going to be rotating soon.
True.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it would be interesting to me if Overgrowth ended up getting nerfed like in the final month before it rotates out of standard, because there's been a lot of talk about how ridiculous that card is for its entire length in standard. I'm not saying specifically that that's going to be the change, but it does kind of make me wonder about that. But I feel like the treasures themselves, I do feel like a better manicured list of treasures would be beneficial, not just in the short term, but for the entire time this card is in standard. I think losing to locusts for the next year is going to suck, no matter if it happens on turn 6 or happens on turn 11. And so I to me, I guess I would like to see what treasures being offered tweaked and have that be looked at as a possible thing. Daring, I just kind of jumped in there with my thoughts, but what do you think about this?
That's fine. I mean, I went on a rant earlier. I mean, I think I was very clear earlier that remove Locust from the pool. Like Locust is just busted in standard. It's like literally the only card I can see that has any play against it is Rancor, and like it's just like that's you're playing around a fringe scenario. I don't know. I think Locust is too good to leave in standard. I think with the ramp leaving, I doubt they'll touch Lightning Bloom because Lightning Bloom is good in Shaman, but it's also a vital part of Shaman right now. And I don't think it's busted in Shaman. Like it's really good in Shaman. It has a lot that it can do, but I don't think it's the busted, like it is in Druid. Like it's overgrowth with Guff and Lightning Bloom and resizing pouch that can pull you extra mana, and it's all this stuff put together. So I don't know what you do. I think the best course for Kazakhstan personally is to take Locust out of the pool. A lot of the other treasures feel very good, but like I said, you can kind of play around them. There should be somewhat of a reward for a card like Kazakhstan. But like Locust feels like it's a win con that you're going for. You never there are very few chances or scenarios where if Locust is offered, you don't take it. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Wicked. Yes, Lightning Bloom is the win con, but it's not like it. I don't know. It doesn't feel broken to me in there. It's just like you have to have the overdraw or the overdraft with it too. It's not the Lightning Bloom by itself. I don't know. And I don't like losing against Burn Shaman. I don't like losing against Burn Shaman. So I feel like that's yes,
so is there anything besides Kazakhstan that either of you think that should be looked at?
No, I don't think so.
Not
specifically
really.
in Druid, but like maybe in general.
I think at this point for me, I would rather see some cool, fun buffs. Like if we're looking at balance changes, I want to see some buffs. Power something up, especially if it's going to rotate out in 2 months. Buff it up. Let us play with it for a month and a half before it leaves or something. Like that's what I would rather see than nerfing something. Because I think even some of they don't all. We've had some interesting buffs in the past.
Interesting, she says. Yes, these are my quote fingers.
Yeah, interesting is the word I'm going to use. But it's I would like to see that. I think especially cards that really haven't seen play in the last year and a half, 2 years. If they came in, I would love to see something like that. Like kind of as a going away, like, hey, it's out of standard, at least it's going away. If it's not going to do it, or if they're comfortable reverting it back after they put it to wild only, why not? Dude, that's what I would like to see. I think over just being like, what can we nerf? What can we nerf? What can we nerf? Let's do some fun buffs. Let's go for it. Maybe not like evolved shaman level of stuff, but like fun, good.
What's fun, guys?
No Luna's Pocket Galaxy. No, not that. That is not fun. That's not the fun I'm talking about. Okay, but like, I don't know, something else. That
maybe we should buff Il'gynoth one last time and give it a chance to go out in style.
Go on style. Let him go back to costing 1 mana or 2 mana. Yes. Why don't we make Moargs cost 0 while we're at it?
No. Okay.
No, what we need to do, Ringling's Rifle is now going to cost 2 mana for the next 2 months, and
And it has 6 charges.
We'll celebrate that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm playing up under. Yeah, all right. Give me 2 mana Rinling's Rifle. Yeah, let's go.
No, what it needs to be is probably Keyword and Ivory needs to be buffed, so that way then somebody actually plays that card before it leaves standard.
I have a golden copy of that card, so yeah, let's do it.
All right. I think that's going to do it for our main topic tonight. Why don't we do the Q&A here? So if you got a question about the podcast or just something you want to pose a question to one of us, please do so. Throw it in the chat, and we'll talk about those for a little bit before we wrap this episode up. This has been fun, by the way.
Yeah.
I forgot how much fun it is to do this stuff live, and then have awesome people hanging out in chat talking with us while we do this.
It is fun. It is fun, especially because it's like I think the 3 of us, we're either. At least when we do our card reviews, we are either all 3 in complete agreement, or we are like so varied across the like ratings.
It's like this card's a 1, but I give it a 5.
Yeah, exactly. So like, especially when we're in agreement, it's always nice to have like chat or somebody else kind of be like, well, what about if you think about it this way? And then we could be like, oh, interesting. Okay. But okay, I have to pick this one and just show it before we start jumping in.
Yep.
You want Pocket Galaxy? Because this is how you get Pocket Galaxy. And all I think with that is also anybody that is, oh my gosh, now I can't remember the name of the show. Do you want ants, Lana? This is how you get ants. That's what I'm thinking about.
Archer.
Archer.
Yes.
No, I don't want ants. I don't want Pocket Galaxy. I just want some fun buffs. That's all I want. Why is that too much to ask for?
Ah, man. Pocket Galaxy, good times.
Yes.
Okay. So, Wicked Good. What is making you happy right now? Major Death, why don't you start us off here?
Okay, that make me.
Yep.
You're on the spot.
I am happy that there is a lot to do in our Hearthstone client right now, and it's almost too much. It kind of is too much. I was working on unlocking all of Alterac Valley so I could try and get the Chi-Ji mercenary, and I got the first quest done, and now I have to actually get to Ibis so that I can do that. So that I can actually get the mercenary, but I'm still playing mercenaries some. I'm not playing it as much as I was initially. I'm having fun playing Battlegrounds, even though my recent success there has been a little wanting. Read, I've gotten a bunch of 6th place finishes in a row. And there's a lot to explore in standard right now with the mini set that just came out. So I'm happy that there is a lot to do in the game. I did actually catch up on all the single player content too over the weekend, this last weekend. So I was happy that I was one of the last people to realize that Kazakus was Kazakusan, a dragon, and so there you go. So I like that stuff, and so that as far as Hearthstone goes, what's making me happy right
now? I like the amount of Miracle Priest I'm seeing. Like I like Miracle. I was playing Miracle Priest set, and I have not had a chance to get back to it, but like it warms my heart to see Miracle Priest being played on ladder. It just, something about that is just very touching to me, and I'm like, yes, I need this wackiness in my Hearthstone. So hearts out to Miracle Priest.
Oh, I guess that means it's my turn now.
It is your turn.
Okay, what is making me happy right now? I think what's making me happy right now is at least in my husband just stood up and pointed at himself. He always makes me happy. That's fair. But and coffee and sugary coffee. But for for Hearthstone, um, yeah, the different modes I think is a really good one because I kind of actually I play standard mostly, and I've obviously do some mercenaries, but I have recently been picking Battlegrounds back up again. And yesterday, as of our recording, so we're recording Tuesday, so Monday, I did actually do a Battlegrounds charity stream for Play Stream. And we did, it was like a lobby of 8 of us. So it was like me and Heart Queen and Language Hacker. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember everybody. Miss Bowers was there. Death itself, which he's like amazingly good at Battlegrounds. So he just like stomped all of us. But we did 6 lobbies and I had so much fun with that. And it was like because it was for charity, we were raising money for Gamers Outreach. So I think for me, I really enjoyed the just kind of kicking back, having fun, laughing with chat. Somebody sent a donation challenge thing for it's called Dance Time. So I had to dance, and it was like $15 donation for charity. And I was like, I don't know how long I'm supposed to dance. So I was like, I'm gonna set a 2-minute timer, which afterwards I realized was I'm out of shape. So that 2 minutes felt like 20 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. But I was like dancing in my chair, trying to play Battlegrounds with one hand. So I'm like, I don't know what to do with this other hand. So I'm like, the cowboy like rope thing. And like, I don't know what I was doing, but it was a lot of fun. So I think right now, yeah, playing the other modes and kind of just getting myself out of that. Like, I need to do well. I have to climb these ranks. I have to win. I just took the pressure off myself. And I think for that, like that was a lot of fun. And I needed that. And I need that reminder that like, hey, games and stuff can be fun. I know, what a concept. But yeah, I needed that.
So, do either of you have something non-Hearthstone related that you want to say that is making you happy right now, besides maybe a husband or coffee?
Right now, I am super excited that Elden Ring comes out on Friday, technically
There you
Thursday,
go.
because I'm buying it on PC. So Elden Ring's coming, so that's going to be a lot of good times. And I just got King of Fighters 15, so I'm very happy in the gaming front.
Dragon Rider, do you have anything? Do you have something non-Hearthstone
Um,
related that's making you happy right now?
I mean, it's kind of still coffee related, but I
Okay.
recently did. I actually recorded and did like a little time lapse thing on my TikTok. But I organized all of my coffee stuff, and now instead of like my coffee machines being on one side of the kitchen, my coffee itself being on the other side of the kitchen, my coffee little pods being in the pantry on the other part of the kitchen, like it's all in one place, and that makes me very happy when I go to make my coffee because it's like, hey, I can actually like reach everything and it's all in one place and it feels good. I'm like, I'm a little organized and I don't have to like walk around in 5 circles just to make a pot of coffee because that was ridiculous. So that has made me very happy and has made my mornings a little bit more smooth.
Very nice. I have not shared this with anybody, but I went to I put on a bunch of weight, and during the pandemic and whatnot, and over the last month, I've started working out and started eating better. And as of today, I'm down almost 20 pounds. So I am very happy in the first month of how well that is going. So that is making me happy in a non-Hearthstone related manner.
That is awesome. Doing something for yourself like that is awesome. I'm very happy for you for that. That's awesome.
It is the first of a long process, a
Yeah.
process I've done a couple times before and said I wasn't going to have to do it again, but here I am having to do it again. But there we go. So
Yeah, I know exactly where you where you're coming from because I need to get back on it. So, whew. So we have Diego Centric asking, which treasures would you buff for a variety to the Kaz pool, the Kazakhstan pool? I think that's a very interesting question. Let me pull them back up because where did we link them earlier? I had them up.
Yeah, in the Discord.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah, the images in Discord. What would I buff?
I want to see Holy Book get a mana cost reduction from
Yeah.
8 mana. That is silence and destroy a minion, summon a 10/10 copy of it. That's a card I don't think anybody's really picking because some of the power level of some of the other cards are really good. And it just for what you're paying, it feels like it's not nearly as good as some of the other cards. So that would be one of the treasures I would consider buffing if it was going to stay in the Kazakhstan pool so that it would see a little bit more play. I'm not talking like a huge thing. I don't think it needs to cost like 4 mana or something. But if that thing costs like 6, that would be a lot more interesting. 6 or 7.
So my answer, I have 3 that stick out to me that I would buff. First is the Looming Presence, the 3 mana, draw 2 cards, gain 4 armor. I feel like it should give you more armor and perhaps maybe only draw 1 card or cost 1, something to it to make it more appeasing, because it costs 3 mana to draw 2 cards and gain 4 armor when you only have potentially 9 cards in your deck at that point in time. So that's a lot of draw right away. I would like to see Clockwork Assistance, maybe possibly get Rush, because he's the one that gets +1/+1 for each spell you've played this game. So he hits the board. He's very stagnant. He does get bigger, but he can be dealt with, and he's only 3 mana, but maybe make him cost like 4 and give him Rush. I don't know. And the last thing I would like is Quel'Delar, or however you pronounce it. Just give you
the weapon.
The weapon.
Yeah.
Just give you the weapon together.
Yeah.
Because like the blade by itself isn't good. The handle by itself isn't good. Just give the Quel'Delar together.
The full,
just give it,
the full weapon, yeah.
Because you have to draw both parts of it to put it together, or does it just go into your deck?
You have to select both halves, and then you get only 8 treasures because it combines them and gives you 2. So
you're already
of the
down
actual 4 sword.
So you're already down 2 treasures. Like, see, these are the things that like it works in duels, but doesn't quite work in standard.
The Hyper Blaster could probably be a little bit different mana cost as well. That's the 3 mana 1/4 weapon with poisonous, and you're immune when attacking. That is it's a good removal tool, but like it's competing against some other stuff that feels like it's much more powerful. So I don't know when you would pick that. I don't know what treasures you'd have to go up against that's a card that you would pick.
I think the puzzle box would be fun. So right now it's the 3 mana transform all minions into random ones that cost 3 more. If that were either a little less costly or increased the minions more, I think that could be really fun. I still think that would create some like really powerful and strong swing turns potentially, but I don't know. I think it's also one of those where like there has to be a board, and if your opponent has a board and you don't, you just don't pick this anyways. So like, I don't know. That would be more dependent on you picking it based on the situation, not necessarily how good that card on its own is. So, but that's the one that I'm drawn to.
The Annoyal Horn could be less too, I think. by the way. 8 mana, fill your board with annoying minions.
Oh my God.
I like that
So
card. I
annoying.
like the card because it's just amazing. But yeah, it's 8 mana, and I feel like it treasure wise, you're looking for, like we've talked about, draw, you're looking for removal, you're looking for damage, and this doesn't really fit in any of those categories. You're not really playing that so much. So there's some treasures that we would consider buffing from the Kazakhstan pool.
So this is by Death by Dragoon 2004. So I've already asked Dragon this, but any advice for crafting a good deck in Hearthstone? So I obviously you've already addressed this, Dragon Rider. So I guess Mage and I will take a stab at it as well. So my advice would just be number one, kind of focus in on how you want to play the game. Um, if you want to be a more aggressive style, are you a mid-rangey or a control-y player, combo OTK? Like, kind of focus in on what you want to do. Hearthstone has a great feature where you can borrow decks from other people. So maybe get in touch with someone on Twitter and be like, hey, I want to try out this deck. Because I know in the past, Mage, we did it at one point in time. You're like, I'm not sure if I want to craft Kadeth Prime, and I let you try a deck I had Kadeth Prime in, and it was like, okay, yes, I want this. I want it, and you ended up crafting it. So, I think focusing on your play style, and kind of focusing in on the meta too, and just kind of picking out, looking at different sites and talking to people to just try and focus on the essential cards, because there's obviously a 30 card deck that is going to be, you're going to have cards that are going to be ideal across the board, but there are going to be certain cards like, that aren't going to be optional. Like in the Druid, we're talking about Kazakhstan is essential. Like that's the card that the deck is essentially being built around now. So that card can't be replaced, but maybe some of the removal can be switched around depending on what your collection looks like. So, and the last piece of advice I would be is optimize your dust refunds too. If something gets nerfed and you don't, it's always recommended to just dust things that gets nerfed and keep the dust for a short, a period of time afterwards, because you can, excuse me, you can always recraft something, but you will never get the full dust for it. So like you could like an example, I think from back in the day, Quest Rogue, like the original Quest Rogue, that quest got hit what, 3 different times, I want to say 2, at least twice. It got hit twice. And so if you nerfed it, if you dusted it for the 1600 or and you kept that dust, you could have recrafted it once you realize, hey, this is still really playable. This is still really good. Is this a deck I want to still play? So it's kind of my advice on that.
Yeah, I think figuring out the decks that match the way you want to play makes a lot of sense. I also think if there's specific cards, especially cards that are pretty good, like Mr. Smite or something like that, find the deck then that he's good in. If there are certain cards that you really like and they end up actually being pretty decent, finding the decks that those cards go in. But you do want to craft a deck as opposed to individual cards, because it's going to get you farther with the dust that you're spending. But I think I am not a deck builder. Have never been a good deck builder. I had a free to play account for a long time in the EU, where I had a lot less available to me. But I would always start with somebody else's deck and try and switch out as best I can. So having access to some of the sites that give you some of that data, whether it be HS Replay or Vicious Syndicate, is I think the best place to start, because you can see decks, you can see card choices, you with things like Vicious Syndicate, you can read about why certain cards are in the deck and that sort of thing. And I think if you're starting out, and even me having played for as long as I have, I think it's really important to understand the why on the cards as much as it is how to play the deck. How to play the deck is important, but why certain cards are in there, how you should play this, how the matchups work differently, all that stuff. You can kind of get some of those feelings. HS Replay is great because they give you some mulligan information as well, and so you kind of know what cards am I looking for and that sort of thing. And so the, that's what I would say is look at some of the resources that are available to you outside the game client to kind of help you find decks that match what you want to play and what you think your style is. And definitely, like Daring was saying, if you have a friend that has access to cards that you don't, getting to try them, there is no better substitute for trying out something with the borrow a deck feature, that so that you can actually play it yourself before you actually make any crafting decisions. But I would also say that no matter what you craft, we've seen now that there is going to be balance changes, and there's going to be things that are going to happen, and decks are going to be good and then they might not be as good. And so just try and pick something you think is going to be good based on this information that you see, and then just kind of roll with the punches if something changes. That's really all you can do. I for a long time was very hesitant on spending dust because I was concerned that it was just going to get nerfed right after I crafted something. If you have very limited resources, I definitely understand if that's how you feel. But if you have any sort of like little stash of dust or something like that, do the best you can with the information that's available to you, and just try and pick something that seems like something you'd want to play, and just go from there.
Yeah, I think on top of that too, like I 100% agree. I am a big proponent of like why. I hate when, you're trying to learn or you're trying to get better and you ask somebody or a streamer or whatever and they just say the card's good. Okay, but like why is it good? Especially if you don't understand. You're like, I've tried playing it and I feel like it's terrible. Why is that card good? Like for me, that was when I first hit Legend. I'm sure I've told this story before, but I was playing Murloc Paladin, and I always forget the name of this card, but that 2/2 that like you discovered a secret. Everybody,
Hydrologist.
yes, thank you.
Hydrologist, yeah.
Everybody loved that card and be like, why is it good? It's just good. You play it. Everybody's playing it. It's good. It's good. It's good. I'm like, okay, well, I play it and I feel like it sucks, or I pick the wrong thing every time and then I lose. I don't like this card. So I changed it. I was like, screw that thing. I don't understand why everyone's saying it's good. I feel like I suck with it or something. I don't get it. It did not work with my brain. So I said, that thing's out of there. Take that out. I don't think it's good. Take it out. And then I put in the Bluegill Warrior, a little charge Murloc, play him on the board or pulled him out of the deck, and I hit face. That made sense to my brain. I went, okay, it's good because it hits face. I like it. So I think for me, looking at not only what other people suggest as well, but and fitting with your play style, but if you could actually lay out reasons why you might want to use a card or what cards are used for in the deck, even if it's something that's there's a lot of off meta deck builders that you can find on Twitch, and you can ask them questions as like the reasons why they might include certain stuff. But even if you're just write it down on paper or type it in a Word document or something, and look at a card. This is also useful if you are trying to replace a legendary and you're like, I don't have that legendary, I got a pretty limited budget, maybe what can I replace? Look and see if you can find 2 or 3 reasons why that card is in the deck. Why is that legendary in the deck? What does it do? Is it for extra damage? Whether it's a charge minion that you're using to go face? Is it part of a combo that works with other cards? Is it for early game, getting you to a certain part of your deck, like a draw mechanic, let's say? Is it, is it for, well, what is its purpose, right? If you can come up with a couple different reasons why the card is there, then you can start looking at other cards and saying, okay, does this serve a similar purpose? If it does, maybe you could try that as a replacement. If it's not, you say, well, is that needed in the deck? Do I already have a ton of draw and I can afford to take one draw thing out, maybe that I don't have, and put something else in that maybe adds a little bit of damage? That could be something that you can look at too. So if you're looking to craft a certain deck, if you're really tight on dust or something like that, then you can also kind of look at it that way too.
All right.
Is there anything else, or I think no questions? Thank you, D Style. He says no questions. Just want to say thank you for all the hard work you put into for this podcast. Thank you. We do put in a lot of work, and we are glad that people appreciate it. And
Very much.
as I always say, this is a labor of love, and we love doing this, and we love recording every week and putting out the podcast. So, we love hearing feedback, and it's just great this is great. I like being able to interact with our community while we're talking. This was a lot of fun tonight. So,
Yes, thank you to all of you that are in the chat hanging out with us tonight. It was really great to see so many wonderful questions and comments throughout the show tonight. Thank you.
okay. Well, so Mage, you want to give us this week's poll question?
Sure. So we started talking about the mini set and our first impressions of the mini set, and we talked about the big bad dragon that is Kazaka-san. And our question for you for this week is going to be, do you think Kazaka-san will continue to see as much play as it has since the mini set launched? So you can take that for however it's worth. It feels like it's seeing a fair amount of play. Do you think it will continue to see that much? Yes, no, or not sure will be your choices. Please vote. Let us know what you think, and we will share the results of this poll on next week's show.
Speaking of the show, you can find us on Twitter at Doctor3HS. Follow our top pinned tweet that will take you to the Doctor3 Discord. You can email the show at Doctor3HS@gmail.com. And you can find myself on Twitter and Twitch at Daring Alkaline. I've been streaming a lot more. I've been streaming Valorant. I've been streaming Dark Souls, and come Thursday night, I will be streaming Elden Ring. So get ready for a lot of Elden Ring and some Valorant mixed in there. So, Dragon Rider, what about you?
You can find me on Twitter, DawnieDK. That's DAWNIE DK. On both Twitch and my Hearthstone YouTube, you find me there at Dragon Rider DK. Also doing some basically like live stream, video, and podcast made simple kind of content over on my other YouTube. You can find that at Simple Side of Content Creation, and talking all about Mercenaries every week-ish. I'll say every other week-ish, depending on how things are going. But you can find me talking Mercenaries at the Spirit Healer podcast.
And Mage, take us home.
You can find me talking about Hearthstone, Sea of Thieves, Dungeons and Dragons and all the other nerdy stuff, Critical Role that I'm a fan of, at Mage of Death on Twitter. You can also check me out on my other podcast talking about the Marvel superhero Moon Knight in the Phases of the Moon Knight podcast. You can find links to the show and all the stuff we're talking about there with the new show coming out in March on Twitter at Phases of MK.
All right, guys. That's it for this week. We really, really, really greatly appreciate everyone who stopped by tonight. And as always, you've been listening to Doctor3. See, all the music and stuff comes in post. Sorry about that, guys. You don't get that live.
Yeah, we're not quite the coin conceit outfit and that, or Angry Chicken that have that right baked into the live show. But you do get to hear me do boom.